It is currently June 11th, and everything feels like it's on fire. I mean, in a literal sense, it's actually only 72 degrees. That's funny. I assumed it was 110, 120, but it is not. If you were living under a rock this week, or you don't live in America, you probably didn't. Or I should say last week. If you didn't hear about the whole, actually, let's cut the fire. So last week was very pivotal. I mean, that's probably the best word I could use for that whole situation. I mean, if you. It's one of those things that I just really don't know how to put into words. I know how I feel in my head, and it's just, I was completely devastated. I mean, without a doubt, devastated about the whole ordeal dealing with George Floyd. I mean, Breonna Taylor, the list goes on and on. It happens. I mean, it's safe to say once a year, if not more, if there wasn't cameras. So it's just, I mean, Black lives do matter. I mean, this is a very important subject to me in the sense of it's my race, it's my roots, and putting away my just whole thought about this, I feel like I haven't learned how to eloquently put this together. I think if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to say it's wrong. Police brutality is a major issue. I mean, even for me, I am half black, half Mexican. I'm pretty sure I tell that to everybody. But at least once a year, I get pulled over. And I'm not saying anything happens. I'm not saying I acted in a hostile way. I just get pulled over. And it's more or less, I want to say it's a judgment of my vehicle. I drive a 2005 Impala, which is a very stereotypical car for whatever the cops may think it is. And I get pulled over once a year. They check my stuff. They always make sure that my papers are in there. And it's just one of those feelings, you know? It's just, you know what the whole situation is. I feel what they're feeling, and it's a bias. And I believe this has been going on for years and years. And I'm not saying my whole incident, but I can only imagine the incidents that other people have had. And last week, there was just so much going on with protests. I mean, need I say the word looting? It's just hard to process personally for me, just to how hard it is for people to comprehend what the whole movement's about. I mean, it's just purely, I see a lot of hatred being pushed around. That's just with the media. That's just with social media too, I might add. Jesus, get off that. Because not only are we going through a civil rights movement that we so rightly needed, it was very quintessentially, I don't know if that's the right word, but it happened in a time that was already crazy. I mean, we got coronavirus that's back in the headlines. I will say a week after the news got sick of George Floyd, which is typical, and it shouldn't be like that. But we're back on coronavirus. So it's just, this whole quarantine has been crazy. I mean, I have a podcast now, and this is not even making it about me, but just, we were stressed in the beginning, and then everyone got kind of okay with it. And then America opened up, and then now it's getting stressful again. And it's an overwhelming feeling, but at the same time, I've been lately, and this is for me personally, I've just been very open to kindness. I feel like when the quarantine first happened, I was just cranky. And I think that was just me projecting my anxiety onto everybody else. But at this point, I feel like with whatever happens, you just want to leave a footprint of kindness, you know, some kind of legacy of care. And I think that's just what I've been, at least what's been on my mind. I'm not saying I'm going to die or anything, but it's just this past couple of months has really put into perspective the fragility of society, the fragility of Earth. And I don't think it's going to be a fun ride down the line. I said that weird, but I really don't know what the future holds. But at this point, I will say, minus it being 100 degrees, minus George Floyd not getting justice in Breonna Taylor, I mean, I think that's just what hurts the most. I mean, if you see that on TV, man, I mean, I thought it was unbelievable the news showed a murder on TV. I mean, I have so much to say about it, but I just don't. I didn't feel like last week I was going to release an episode, but I just did not feel like the person to talk about it. And it has nothing to do with my identity. It's more or less that I don't know how to eloquently put it into words, like what I want to say. And I think this podcast kind of helps. I had some guests over the week. I kind of talked to some people on Zoom, just like I talked to today's guest. But we kind of bring it up, but each guest kind of showed me their support of Black Lives Matter, and there's been a lot of kindness and there's been a lot of hate, and it's not towards me personally. It's just towards the whole. I mean, I don't know what do we want to call it. I'm just going to call it a civil rights movement. I mean, that's what it's going to be looked at as 10 years ago, right? Or 10. I said 10 years ago. 10 years from now. I mean, in the future, this is definitely one of the most pivotal, one of the most important civil rights movements. And I mean, it's my only question about it, and I feel like I need to learn more. I mean, this is just such a learning experience for everybody, but me is like, okay, so my issue is any person of color, you can understand that the freedoms you want, and you see that double standard that plays out in society, or at least that bias, you understand that there's certain, I don't know what the word is. There's certain, I wouldn't even say segregation. That's just too big of I mean, it could be. I mean, there's just definitely a systemic racism. I mean, there's this, I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, it's very easy as a person of color, clearly, because you're the one being, or you're mainly the brunt of systemic racism. But my question is, what is the next steps? And I think I need to find the right people to tell me this. And it's just not like, I want my freedoms. I understand what I want. And then I want to tell that to Congress. I mean, if I was that powerful. But at the same time, I know that with opposition, there's always going to be opposition. I mean, there's always going to be a challenging force that's going to go against whatever you want. And the question is, what can we do as a people? And that's just all of us, to make this better for everyone except the racists. I mean, I think it seems like a simple concept, but jeez, I know. It's just, that's how if you know me, if I end a conversation that I don't know what I'm saying, if there's a point I don't know what I'm saying anymore, I just go, yeah. But in times of despair, historically, there's always been great times after. And Black lives do matter. I mean, it's just, if you don't agree with that saying, I mean, it's not a saying of selfishness. It's not a saying of superiority. It's just a saying of recognition. And I think everyone should be on the same page with that. It's just unfortunate as a citizen of America. I mean, I hate to pull that card, but it's tough to see stuff like that. And I know we're going to pull through this. I know everybody's working hard, and probably working way harder than I am. I'm still trying my best. I'm still trying to learn, trying to advocate, and try to promote. But I do believe in this movement, and this may seem like a time of stress and just anxiety. I mean, at least for me, I mean, this is the biggest part. I haven't even left my house, and God knows, whenever they said quarantine, that's just when I stayed home. But regardless, just know that most likely you're cared for. I hope so. Somebody loves you. And I mean, we got to take it a day at a time at the moment. I mean, that's just what it feels like. And I'm so happy I get to do a podcast. I mean, in these times of stress, I guess I should say, it's just crazy that great things are happening as well. I mean, we can even look at the whole world in a perspective of that. I mean, while protests were going on for civil rights, the two people went to the moon. Or I said the moon, Jesus. They went to the space station. That's the correct term. But they went to the space station. I mean, there's always positives and negatives, and life is a little wild right now. But I guess the whole point of this podcast is we want to feel better, right? So if you're listening to this, we will have a nice 40-minute conversation today specifically with Abe Dubin, and he is from Fancy Lad Skateboards. His name is Orange Man. So I first came across Fancy Lad Skateboards when I was deeper into skating. I'm more casual now, but back in the day, I'd say like 2016. I was like 21. I saw this. So Adult Swim partnered with Fancy Lad Skateboards, and they made this terrific video. Oh my God. If I don't remember it while I'm doing this right now, I spent the last 5 minutes trying to remember the name. It's not like I don't remember it. I remember the video frame by frame, but I don't remember the goddamn name. Fancy Lad Skateboards. I'm going on YouTube really quick. Yes, video history. So that was the first one I saw, and I remember we kind of talk about that. There's a couple of tricks I wanted to ask about, and I kind of fanboyed just a little bit, but I think it was a good conversation overall. We talk about life, we talk about Black Lives Matter, if I'm not mistaken. We talk about, we don't get too heavy in that, but it's definitely brought up, and then we talk about just like artistic endeavors. We talk about everything. So, without further ado, I present to you a song of positivity and ridiculousness. Not the show, just the action. Or is that ridiculousness? What is that? Okay, somebody will tell me. But without further ado, I made a little song and then an interview with Orange Man from Fancy Lad Skateboards, Abe Dubin. All right, thank you guys so much. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Hold on. I'm just going to close out of this other stuff that I'm in. Here we go.
No problem.
All right.
And then I want to thank you for doing this. I'm Terrence, by the way. I've been the one you've been talking to.
Yeah, I'm Abe. Nice to meet you.
Nice to formally meet you. I think.
Yeah, as face-to-face as we can kind of do these days.
Exactly.
That's been like all of my longer conversations these days are Zoom, phone. So this is like the new in-person.
I will say it's crazy how quickly we adapted to it. At least me personally, I feel like I jumped on this almost instantly.
Yeah, I did too. It just seems like there's no other option. And
Yeah.
Actually last week I got my first ever smartphone.
Really?
So now I'm fully adapted. I've been rocking a flip phone this entire time. I'm 32.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. I mean, I appreciate your values on simplicity, I guess. I guess it's the best way to put it with the flip phone.
Well, I think a big part of it is like now I'm trying to figure out how do I even go skate with having this, mini computer in my pocket. And that was the easy answer with the flip is that I could fall on my butt all day long and the thing was like indestructible.
No
so
possible
I'm trying to figure that out, but communicating with my loved ones and my friends is more important than worrying about that. Yeah,
that's great.
I'm kind of treating it like a landline. I leave it at home.
That's usually the case for late bloomers to the smartphone industry.
Right. I'll figure it out. I think I need to start rocking a good satchel bag.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how those have become so popular lately is because, people need their phone without worrying about sitting on it, falling on it, dropping it,
Or
you
doing
know.
anything destructive to it.
Yeah. Yeah, have you noticed those like kind of like, it kind of looks like a mini camera bag with like
Yeah,
a zipper. Yeah. They're kind
almost
of a
close to like a, what is it, a satchel, not a satchel, a fanny pack, right? Like that's
right.
almost,
So it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. It's a fanny pack, but then like people just are wearing them in a different way too.
they just
You
put
know,
it
like over
different.
the shoulder, maybe like people think that's more masculine or less nerdy.
That's
You
hilarious. I'd
know,
still rock a fanny pack. I wouldn't even.
I've definitely done it. Yeah, I've definitely done it. I feel like if you throw it on the side
Hmm.
or completely reverse, you know, it's less nerdy. But I don't know. My dad rocks the fanny pack and always has, and it's just like it's just so nerdy.
That's hilarious. No, I want to
Shout
say
out
this.
to my dad.
Shout out to your dad. Exactly. I want to say this is pretty crazy because I feel like it's almost full circle. I remember seeing the first Fancy Lad video. At least my first iteration was the Adult Swim. I believe 4 years ago. It was 2016.
I know
And
that thing seems ancient now.
you.
That was
I
a good
mean,
edit, though.
it was incredible. Yeah. And I think it was the first representation for me because I skate. I'm not gonna say I'm the best skater, but I
I was
keep
gonna
it.
ask if you skate. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so I keep it semi-casual and I keep up more with the teams than anything.
Uh
I
huh.
guess that's the best way to describe my skating history. But
Sure.
Fancy Lad has always been on top in the fact of like the creativity. I think that blew me away because I'm more creative than I would say like a skater. And I just
Yeah.
love that aspect that you guys put into the videos. I mean, especially just the editing, the funky characters that you put into the videos a lot of the times, and then the pure creativity of the tricks. I mean, I still show people the footage of I believe it's the peanut butter and jelly, where it was a nice little grind off a rail, and then it.
So yeah, the idea was pole jam.
Full
You
jam.
know,
Yeah,
so I bought a couple jars of strawberry jam to
yeah.
stuff into the pole, and I was hoping that it would like shatter and
Hmm.
kind of just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the skate language is such funny slang, and there's a
Exactly.
lot to play with as far as sort of like dad joke puns brought to life. You
That's
know,
hilarious. No, I mean that's
so
exactly what I felt from it, and I felt it felt very niche. It felt very, I don't know, full of care, and I love that
mm,
whole aspect about your guys' videos. And I kind of
thank
just
you.
wanted to ask, like, I mean, more so with you, where did the name? Okay, so Orange Man, I knew your name, I think before I even knew you, and I knew that. And then I just wanted to see like where the name came from, and then where your association with Fancy Lad kind of came from too, as well.
Yeah, well, so I grew up on the South Shore, Massachusetts,
Okay, for sure.
um, and in a town called Hanover, there is
Hmm.
a yellow man and a red man who are local celebrities,
Oh, that's hilarious.
and they're both sort of like older men who are like thought to be kind of kooky, you know, colorful
Yeah,
local characters. And so Yellow Man, he has an all yellow house, yellow trucks in the
mm.
front yard, yellow decorations, yellow crosses. He used to dress in all yellow. He actually doesn't even do that anymore, but he's still known as Yellow Man.
Oh, that's
He's got
hilarious.
like a big wizard's beard, long gray hair,
Yeah,
and he's usually picking up trash on the side of the road as kind of like a good Samaritan
yeah,
act, or dancing, or just chatting with whoever is coming by, or helping someone whose car is broken down. He lives
yeah.
on this major like auto mile,
Hmm.
which it's kind of like a strip with like car dealerships and a mall,
Okay,
and then his house is just kind of like plopped in there somehow amongst all of it.
okay.
So then on the same exact strip, like you can't write this stuff. The same exact strip, there's Redman, who he's a little younger, he's middle aged, and
Okay.
he wears a red crew neck sweatshirt and sometimes red sweatpants,
Hmm.
and his face is completely red. And he paces the auto mile back and forth. You can catch him as you drive by. You can catch him walking at any given time.
Yeah.
Or you could catch Yellow Man out there on his bike, or dancing on the side of the road. And so I feel like maybe people have named this guy Red Man in relation to Yellow Man,
Yeah.
because Yellow Man, I think, is self-proclaimed Yellow Man.
Okay.
I'm kind of just putting that together, but either way, they're both kind of like anomalies to this like suburban, middle of nowhere strip.
Okay.
And I've always just been fascinated with them because it's not every day, or it's like you don't know too many people like that, or even know of too many people like that. I feel like every town and every community has like that guy who is like a friendly but not totally understood character.
Yeah.
And who, definitely, lives their life to the beat of a different drum. And I mean, that's always inspired me more than anything else, like the mystery of characters like that, or the fact that they're just like, I don't know, that they believe in their own world and they have created their own world and reality. And maybe that's a more peaceful existence for them. Because I mean, as we have it already, society is fucked. Society sucks. So it's like it's your only option, maybe, to create your own reality.
I mean, for some people, that's an interesting take on that. I mean, I never even put it together, I guess, in that sense, that they are living in, I guess some of them hopefully are living in their own, I guess, blissful reality.
Or they're trying to impart that on everyone else, like by sharing their view. I don't know, but so yellow and red is orange. So it's kind of like my thing as Orange Man is an ode to these street mystics.
That's terrific. I wouldn't even have expected something like that. That's really cool.
Well, it's like, I feel like even saying it now, and I've told a few people, who aren't familiar, it doesn't even seem like, even if it was a fictional story, it's like not very believable. It's not very realistic. It's not very well thought out, but it's actually real.
It's just one of those too good to be true stories.
I guess, yeah. And it's so nice. Every time I come home, I'm able to see one of them.
Oh, that's hilarious. Have you ever had like an interaction with either of them?
Oh, of course. Well, I've sought it out because I'm so fascinated by them, and I want to know their secrets to life. Their secrets to, like, individuality and not letting go of that. So like I've pulled over a few times just to chat with Harry, that's Yellow Man.
Okay.
And we chat a little bit, and I remember the first pro model board I got for Fancy Lad. I had it in the van, and I pulled over, and I wanted to tell him and say, kind of like, thank you for being such an inspiration to me. This is my first official board as awesome. Orange Man or whatever. And I go, Harry, can I show you something? He goes, it better be yellow. I'm like, it's not actually. But... and he didn't have much to say about it. And that's kind of the coolest thing about these kind of characters, is because I feel like he is egoless, where he's like, he doesn't see it as an ode to him, and he doesn't see it as strange that someone would be inspired by him, or that someone else would be doing their thing purely as self-expression.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like this phrase, like, ego death, is thrown around a lot. In the past couple of years, I've just heard it a lot, and I never believe it. But it's something to aspire to.
Right. I definitely agree with you on that.
And I don't know if it is truly achievable, but I don't know. Like I've talked, like, once I talked with like a monk, like a Buddhist monk, because they wear the orange.
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, why do the Buddhist monks wear orange? And he was saying, it represents, like, burning away sin. Or I think they have a different word for it, but burning away these kind of negative things like a fire, but also so that you are seen by others and you can lead by example.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, and I watched this. I don't know. I watched this interview with like. I'm really going off on a tangent, but
Oh,
I watched this
don't
interview
even
with like
worry.
the Dalai Lama
Okay.
last night. It's like
Yeah.
a new one where
Hmm.
he references coronavirus and Trump and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that maybe it's not about the ego death. It's just about like totally keeping in check. Like he seemed like the most humble person,
Hmm.
and where he's probably the most well known and one of the most influential spiritual or philosophical leaders like in the world.
Yeah.
And he just had some tips on happiness and keeping calm during all this.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
best thing. We need something like that, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the tips, which I feel like is something we can practice, is compassion meditation, which
Hmm.
is like I tried it a little bit yesterday, and he also talks about starting slow, baby
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah.
Meditate for a minute, then 5 minutes.
Hmm.
Work your way up. But it's kind of about like you find a spot on the floor, close your eyes, and you breathe in someone else's pain and exhale like a healing. And you're kind
Oh,
of
whoa.
you just have somebody in mind and that intention in mind of helping them.
Wow. I've never even,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's such a deep meditative state. You definitely feel something when you're doing that, I imagine, right?
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, they also like this interview is for some news station, so I'm not even really buying it. But they had some other like, they had a scientist come on too, and he said, like like he's trying to break down the science of like compassion and the science of meditation and the science of like hope
Yeah.
versus fear and negativity. And there was something about how like you're literally like your molecules inflame with fear and negativity.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's got to be some actual healing power to intentional sending like good vibes is
Yes.
also has
Yes.
been so like it's like a t-shirt now, but
Oh, definitely.
sending like positive energy, like it is a physical thing.
I couldn't agree with that 100%. I definitely feel that. And you could feel people's moods and energies too. I kind of always associate those kind of things in the same realm, I guess.
Yeah, and now it's with everything going on now, it's like you cannot escape that feeling, and it's like I think it's extremely helpful that people are starting to like not just intellectualize
Hmm.
what needs to change and happen, but they like can literally feel you know
And I,
what the unrest, the pain,
yeah,
and everything else. Yeah.
no, I could definitely feel that within the last week. I mean, this has been a powerful week, if I do say so myself. This is probably one
Yeah.
of the most important historic moments, I think, in modern culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that it's all happening at once
Hmm.
with coronavirus. And my mom was saying, I was talking with my mom on the phone, she's like,
Yeah.
it's good that everybody's not working, so we finally have a chance to take to the streets
Yeah.
and demand justice. Whereas I remember back, I feel like there's been so much to protest during this
Yeah.
administration,
Oh, yeah. I
you
mean,
know and a lot of the time you'll be like, I can't even make it because I'm working.
yeah.
And now it's like, we all have the opportunity to get out there,
At
or
least, at
you
least
know
do something. I mean, at least
yeah,
contribute
if you
to.
can't get out there, yeah,
Yeah.
there's you still have time and maybe mental space to do something.
And I think it's great. I mean, it's really been, I think, what the everyone needed, and I guess in this administration, I feel like we needed to say something. And I
Mm,
felt like, yeah, because I'm part African American, I'm Latino and African American, so
mm,
it feels very significant. Like it, this is the first time I felt like significance in an event.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's not just like I'm just really happy to see that it's not just last week.
Yeah.
Because I feel like,
It's
a lot of
continuing.
people are like, okay, cool. Now I can get back to like, posting my skate park clips,
There we go.
which a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like it's not done. And this is a thing to like, work on and do the work for forever, really.
However long.
Until like it's not an issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a long road. It's not going to just be like, here we go.
The
We're
little
good
black
now.
photo. We'll put the little.
Yeah, I know. I'm happy to have not like participated with that. Like,
Oh, it was so
I
close.
kind of figured it out. I kind of figured out, like, maybe it's because like I'm not working right now and I sleep until noon every day. But I wake up and my partner like got me hip to it immediately, and then I like went on and seeing like how Black people are responding to it and saying this is not helpful.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing, but yet I'm still seeing so much of it, and I'm like, what is going on here?
I almost fell for it. I guess like I don't know the origins of it. I'm not going to say that there's malice involved. But
yeah, I know, and that's the other scary part, because like even with the idea that maybe that's a potential thing, like people are still leaving it up. And I don't know. It's just very strange. I mean, like, I see people who have only weighed in using that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like, even after having heard it's not helpful, they're like, well, I still clicked the button.
There's my stance.
Yeah. Like, I it's still like good intention. Doesn't that count for anything?
I mean, not
so that was goofy, but I think most people like got it.
Yeah, for the most part. I feel like everyone was fairly on the same page, so I won't say anything about that. That was pretty. Everyone was pretty on par, but
yeah.
I did want to ask, like, with the whole coronavirus and I mean everything going on, are you still skating? Are you still finding time to skate?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I got laid off or furloughed like early into the corona, but I had kind of like decided I wasn't going to go to work anyway. So I was just kind of using all my sick days. I was like, I don't feel like going in and putting myself at risk. I work for like a bike share down here, which is like, it's like bikes and scooters and stuff.
Okay,
and so I'm like, I don't really feel like touching all these things, and I don't think that that's safe for me or really the customers, the riders. So I kind of was just like, yeah, I'm not going. And then eventually, they let me know, like, you are laid off for now. So I've had a lot of time. So yeah, and I have been skating, and because I really don't know what else to do, and I mean that's what I'm going to do anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a different world with wearing the mask or doing it in complete isolation, which I already enjoy.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm on the same.
I love skating alone anyway, but I like having the option to hit people up or just randomly bump into people and befriend them and skate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've been kind of getting into some like late onset germophobia before the corona thing.
Oh, that probably.
So this has kind of been like totally ramped that up for me. But now I'm kind of at a point where it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm starting to just get over it in general, because like there's only so much you can do. And after that, it just kind of becomes like wasted energy.
And I mean, like, I'm based in San Diego, and I feel like, so it's all beach community.
Yeah.
And I think 3 weeks into coronavirus, I want to say that's when everybody just completely gave up.
Really?
Yeah. But that's the current county. That's just our city over here. And I think with the beach culture, it kind of impeded on each other and kind of just made it like, I don't know. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it is like, if you're outside and you have a decent distance from people, you're probably pretty good.
Yeah,
I
mean,
don't
it's
know.
safe to
Like
assume.
that's I don't know. Like I feel like it's indoors or
Yeah.
it's like being really tightly packed,
Hmm.
even outdoors that you want to avoid. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I've been hearing so many conflicting things, like we all have. Like
Yeah.
it's not actually really spread by surfaces that much, or it's hard to contract, or all these different things, or like it
Yeah.
dies if it's too hot out, or there's like so much you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go with that because still want to enjoy life.
I
You
mean, at
know,
this point, I've kind of felt I've taken the same mantra. It's just as long as I'm keeping safe, I'm washing my hands, I'm doing everything that everyone says,
right?
I'll live my life.
Yeah, yeah. You've been skating with the mask?
No, I haven't skated at all, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've been
Yeah.
mainly, I think, because this whole coronavirus thing, I already have natural anxieties. So, like, on top of that, I've just been honestly drawing and doing this podcast. Honestly, I haven't
Mm.
done anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like that it has been kind of having the time or having kind of the mental switch, like
Hmm.
has been nice. Where I feel like myself and other of my friends are trying out different mediums
Yeah.
or discovering new mediums.
Yeah.
Um, I've been doing more drawing myself. That's
Hmm.
actually kind of like my background or whatever. Like I went to art school for
Oh, no
illustration.
way. Okay.
Yeah, so I actually just finished a illustrated book of skate poetry.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, that I've been meaning to release, but it feels very uncouth to do so right now. So
That's
I'm kind of just
fair.
holding
Yeah.
off on that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like just been working on that like the whole quarantine, and still doing my
Okay.
videos and making a lot of like boards and other kind of like building stuff for my skate videos and stuff. And
Oh, okay. So I did want to ask too, like with the building of the boards, so how does the planning process? This is like my own personal question. How does the planning process for these boards go? Because I know you have a lot of flippable objects. I mean, there's a lot of motion going on some of these boards. And like, do you,
yeah,
do you
yeah,
do diagrams or do you kind of?
that's always how it starts. Yeah,
Oh,
and I
okay.
have like dozens of notebooks that are just like blueprints.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, like having the drawing background, like
Hmm.
that's kind of my first language.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, to kind of like write it out in that way and wrap my mind around how am I gonna like physically put this together. So I'll
Okay.
draw it like from different angles, or even make like lists of like what supplies I'm gonna need
Hmm.
or in what order to do things. I try to make it look sort of like an IKEA, like pamphlet.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't draw like like those are like computer rendered, but I like
Mhm.
to draw it in steps and draw kind of like 3D
Okay.
cartoons.
Okay, see, I'm glad to hear this because I've been wondering. I was like, there's no way you could just put together some of these boards. Like, they're insane.
Well, yeah, sometimes like, well, pretty much all the time, I'll be thinking about it a lot,
Hmm.
while I'm riding my bike around or while I'm at work or
Yeah.
whatever I'm doing. I'll be thinking about it over and over, and that'll be before I even draw it.
Hmm.
And so drawing it is kind of like its first like physical manifestation. So then
Okay.
I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, now we're making some headway. It's born into our realm.
Yeah.
And then like I don't really need to reference the drawing, but the drawing is really just to help me like remember it, like
Hmm.
writing down a note to yourself. Like you don't necessarily have to like look back at it.
Yeah.
It's just writing it helps you remember. So I'll like just draw it several different times just to like get it ingrained in my mind, like the process I'm gonna go about.
Okay.
And then just
So I'm so sorry. We had a technical difficulty and we kind of took care of it, but took like a couple of minutes. But anyways, back to the conversation. It was kind of sidetracked, but it's okay.
I'm sorry. That was what I get. That was
No,
what I get for just getting too into myself on that.
hey, no, don't
My
even worry.
dude, my computer dies if it's not plugged in.
Oh,
Like it's
jeez.
at that stage in its life.
God, was it Apple?
So, yeah. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
yeah. Oh, don't even. You don't even understand. Like, I've been through this before. Don't even worry.
Yeah. Well, my technology is like pretty whack these days. Like I said, I just got the smartphone, and my computer is, it's about 6 years old or something, and it's a Mac, so it's like it doesn't wanna exist anymore. The planned obsolescence expiration date's coming up.
Hate that
So
with Apple. They do that. I love
yeah,
their products too.
I know it. So all right, so I basically just have to keep it plugged in
Okay,
at
no
all
worries.
times now.
But
Yeah.
I forgot what we were talking about. It had to be like
Well, just building the boards, but yeah,
yes.
yeah. I just got a bunch of sketchbooks, and I keep one, you know. But it's I haven't been as active with it lately because like that's just not where my mind is at,
Yeah, and
and
that's
I feel
fair.
like, well, it's kind of like I think this has been like a much needed wake up call for a lot of people like myself, where it's just like, is all my energy and thought power put to me and like these really frivolous activities that bring me joy, you know,
Yeah, no.
which I hope that, other people get joy from it eventually. But, there's a lot more important stuff out there too. So yeah. So I've been a little less focused on making the boards and stuff, but that's always there.
It's
That's
always
not
there,
really
yeah.
going anywhere. Yeah. So
And then with your drawing, did you initially start, was that like your first creative or your first experience with like creative expression? Was the
pretty
drawing?
much.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just yeah, that's like some of my earliest memories are like
Really?
drawing. Yeah. I remember like I love if I'm ever anywhere really and I hear someone mowing the lawn. It reminds me of living in this like small neighborhood where I grew up, and there was like it was like a small condo development.
Okay.
Not like these condos today where they're like skyscrapers and like they're meant to be all fancy. This was like suburban, like little cul-de-sac with like the houses squished together and
Okay.
you know what I mean? But anyway,
Yeah.
they had a team of like landscapers who would come every week or two or whatever, and like so they would be mowing the lawn, and that's supposed to be my nap time, as like a really little guy.
Yeah.
But I would like not nap, and instead I would be like drawing, and so I just associate like the sound of the lawnmower with like doing what I really want to do. I don't know. That was my first like subversive art moment.
Oh, that's
like,
incredible.
I'm not gonna nap. I'm gonna draw.
And then what age was that? What age range?
That was like that was like 4 and 5 even.
Jeez, that's
like
crazy.
some of my earliest memories were. But that's the thing. Like all kids draw. And I was talking with my partner the other day about this, where it's not like some people are like, not everyone's an artist, and other people are like, no, they're really not. And I'd be like, it's not that everyone's an artist or not, it's just that like to create stuff is part of human nature, and so maybe you just lose that spark because the other things become more important, or like society is telling you that that's not important, or your parents tell you that that's not important, or like a lot of factors. But we're all like creative, and it's just a matter of like how that comes out and how you frame it. Like everyone makes something. You make your bed, you choose an outfit,
I mean,
make some food.
I guess just everybody's expression is just a little bit different. I kind of understand that.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of like, I can't sing. People will say that. I'd be like, of course you can. And if you found yourself at church or whatever, in a march, or like everyone could sing. It's just that people, we're kind of obsessed with being good at it or not.
Yeah, I think that's something I had to get over. I think initially was I used to constantly drop projects in the sense of like oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I
Can,
just heard some
can you hear
chopping.
me?
Yes, you were fine.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I just heard some like I just had a problem with I guess the ego of it is just learning to suck at something while you're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that that's like what has always bothered me about skating too, and still
Hmm.
does. Because I mean, I go to the skate parks and like I feel like a lot of the time people aren't having fun because they're too in their own head that they
Yes.
suck.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's okay to not be the best. And I don't know. I remember even like when I was when I first became like so obsessed with it in middle
Mm.
school.
Yeah.
You know, like I skated before then, but I was just like riding around like in the driveway or in the neighborhood,
Hmm.
and it didn't really occur to me that you could be that bad at it. It's almost like drawing, where it's like you just do it if you're a kid. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You just do it,
exactly.
and you don't even know like what is the potential of how good you could be.
Yeah.
But then it's like in middle school, I became obsessed with skating, and that's when I started to get called like a poser and stuff. But I'd be like, well, I know I suck, but I do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not a poser. It's just that I suck, and like I'm okay with that. I'm able to do what I can do, and I have fun, and
Yeah.
I feel like I am progressing in small ways. I mean, that's how I feel now.
I
Like
mean, that's all that it
it's
takes,
like
you know?
I'm able to do what I can do, and that's good enough. It's like that's the personal, personal bests are what I'm going for.
I mean, with skating, I always like the idea of like, I just like, I guess it's a good way to put it into skating is because like I just love how simple it looks, but how difficult every single thing is. Like
Yeah.
I love the beauty of like a skater making it look like this is probably like you could do this. I love that fact about it. I feel like
Hmm.
because then when people actually try to do it, they're like, "Oh my god, this is nowhere near where I thought it was gonna be." And,
Yeah, or like stuff that is actually attainable,
mhm,
and you're like, oh, like I can relate to you. Like
exactly.
I like skating like that, and I try to do skating like that where it's like it suggests something, or it's
Hmm.
like conversational in a way. It's not
Yeah.
saying like, not that I could really do this anyway, but it's like I'm here, you're here. It's kind of like we're both here. Have you thought of this?
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't know. I feel like in the time that Fancy Lad has existed and doing the kind of like skating that we do, people
Hmm.
have taken it so much further.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like I'll be like, you could do this. Now somebody run with it. Somebody who's way better at skating. Run with that.
Yeah.
And not too many people are doing it, but there are some people who kind of take some of these concepts and just like evolve it
Yeah.
and bring it to a higher plateau, and
Yeah.
it's humbling, and it's just like nice. Like I thank you. Like
Yeah, that must be awesome. I mean, I've always loved with Fancy Lad the sense of community, like you said. It's just I kind of felt that with the Fancy Lad edits. Like it was just
mm,
it felt more. It didn't feel too like not even in an offensive way. It didn't feel too like not professional, but it felt like it was just a bunch of friends hanging out making some awesome stuff.
well,
Like
that's really all that it is. That's what it always has been.
yeah.
There happens to be boards, but
Hmm.
it's not like a Fortune 500 company. It's kind of like it facilitates its own means where we get to have boards,
Yeah.
and we just want to put out something that we're proud of, and that you know people like us, like the nerdy teenage versions of ourselves somewhere out there watching it,
Yeah.
would get psyched on
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
be
Yeah.
inspired by.
Hmm. No, I
So
mean,
I don't know. I think a lot about like the collective skate consciousness,
oh,
and
okay.
how do you contribute to it in a
Hmm.
positive way?
Yeah.
Like if anything, like of all the joy and inspiration and learning that skating has given us, how do you give it back? And that's kind of like give back your best version of what you've gotten from it.
I mean, that's a terrific way to put it. That's awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
I've been trying to do a bunch of these sort of live jam events lately.
Mm-hmm.
The coronavirus has sort of interrupted that. It's sort of on hiatus, but that's been some of the most fun I've had lately, is where I'll build a bunch of crappy ramps out of wood, or like me and some friends will,
Yeah.
or find some trash and other objects, you know, like a junk jam. And we'll bring it to a parking lot of whoever is kind of endorsing it.
Yeah.
And then we just all skate together and like figure out how to use the objects together as a group, and like let them break and change and evolve and combine them. And, you know, it reminds me a bit of acting improv class, which was my other first creative outlet, was acting before skating.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
So were you doing like theater, or were you doing like?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So doing a lot of plays, doing improv acting class.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and that's what I think of skating, is that it's like it's a performance. Like if you're filming skate edits or whatever, like you're an entertainer, or you're aspiring to be.
Yeah.
And you're putting out there to tell a story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm saying with like these events, where it's like we're all the players now. Here's the props.
Yeah.
Here's the prompt. Now, how do they like intersect?
You know, I believe I saw a video of one of these jams. I believe it was in Seattle, and
that was one of the last ones that we did over the summer. Yeah. CCS helped out with that one, which was kind of a dream come true. I don't know if you grew up with the catalog.
No.
Okay, well, it used to be this sort of like printed catalog that comes to the house.
Really?
And yeah, and it's, you know, it's basically like what an online store is now. Okay. And so it's just a catalog of all decks and shoes and whatever, and you circle what you might want, and then you plant it discreetly where your parents might find
amongst your parents.
You know. But they're still in business, and they're mostly an online store now.
Okay.
So I kind of just reached out when I realized that they were carrying the Fancy Lad boards, and I have a mutual friend with the guy running the marketing over there. So yeah, I kind of just reached out, and they were down to do something that DIY, you know. Yeah. Which was so cool. So fun.
I saw like a curb on wheels, something like that.
Yeah. My buddy Nardo made that, where it's like one of those plastic curbs, and he just drilled the trucks right into it. Yeah. It's actually really tough to skate because it bends in as you like get onto it. So you're not really going to grind, but you can kind of like stall it and then like roll along with it.
Yeah. Just kind of bounce back off of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's more of like things like that. I just consider like, it's a sculpture that you might be able to skate, and it's just cool that it exists. Yeah. You know, and then you'll figure out like maybe the one trick that works on it.
I guess I've always kind of liked that too with skating, is just the legacy that locations and places leave too. Like I have to add that on there too.
Like as far as like famous spots, or
like famous spots. I just learned the history of a hubba.
Hubba hideout.
Yeah. So
I had no idea. Well, we had this video series back in the day, the On Video series, if you ever watched those.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there was one about Hubba Hideout, and like, it was named after like Hubba is crack rocks or crack.
I believe so, yes. And it was just
which I'd never heard. I mean, when I was watching it, I was like, I don't know, in high school, in the suburbs, and I was like, that's a word for crack?
You're like, yeah,
I had no idea, but, you know.
I thought it was just like a person, you know, Charles Hubba.
Oh.
No, I was just joking. I don't think that's the person, but...
Well, yeah, you know, it's like most spots aren't named after a person. I actually can't really think of any. There's got to be one, but also there's almost there's only like a couple tricks that are named after people too.
Yeah.
which is kind of cool that it's that like anonymous or democratic. You know, I think people have realized that naming a trick after yourself is like pretty egotistical.
Yeah, that's
Or
pretty.
like
Yeah.
almost every trick has been invented at this point,
Yeah.
as far as like kind of like combinations of existing tricks.
Hmm.
So it'd be presumptuous to name it after yourself.
That's crazy. No, I agree with you. I feel like almost all tricks have been already kind of done. I mean, it's kind of shown that, but I like how it kind of opens up the creative aspect of skating in the sense of like now people are getting way more creative in the sense of like even with your guys' videos, I feel like they're way more leaning on creativity and positivity more than the actual, not even more than the actual tricks, but just like coinciding right next to it, and that kind of makes it super interesting in a sense, like I don't know.
I've always found it's easier to just do what you can. And I remember like in high school, we'd be striving for like, that clip was legit. Like it
Yeah.
was about legit. And the legit thing is kind of like, I want to make it look up to the standard that already exists, where when you let go of the standards and you just truly do the best of what you can, there's no way that it can like be emulating what already exists. And in that, it just ends up being like creative.
Yeah. And
Where it's like, I'm just doing whatever comes out, or to the best of my ability. And, and that's not to say like I think all skating is creative. Like if you're learning a trick that has been done a million times but you've never done it, that's a creative learning process.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah.
But I think like we're thinking about we're kind of thinking about the audience maybe more so than our own experience in a way, where we're like, I want this to be something that people haven't seen.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're striving with that in mind, like something new.
Okay.
It's gonna be something new and interesting. Like I can't grind a 20 stair rail, but I can do this, and this for some reason has been overlooked.
Yeah.
Or we're just not really, having too much intention at all. We're just like, we're at a goofy ass spot, like literally like a crack in the ground or, some rubble. And we're like, what can we do with this while we're here in the moment? And just go with that.
That's incredible. I feel like that's why I've always loved your videos. I mean, like, I can't believe it's already been years, but I remember just seeing that video and I thought that blew my mind away, because that was like Adult Swim. That was like their off the air kind of era where everything was a little bit distorted and different. And it was just a cool little addition to that. Like, that's how I like to put it.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we were blown away to have that opportunity because we grew up with like watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force and stuff. And we're like, wow, we get to like do something with them. I mean, it's also kind of bizarre because at that point you don't think of them as like something that would promote skate media in the first place. So that's kind of strange. Yeah. We had hoped to do more with them, maybe even like a show. But that didn't really pan out. And I think we just kind of like, kept going with what we were doing, and people responded to that. There's a new video coming out.
Is there?
Yeah, Secrets of the Clown Box.
Oh wow, okay, that's a name.
And that's due at some point. It's never really like certain when the videos are going to come out, because even when there's a deadline, people film after it, and it generally comes out months after it's supposed to come out. Yeah, but that's just because like we're very loose with everything.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. And also, Big and Tony and whoever's editing it, they want it to be the best that it can be. Yeah,
and then the edits are incredible. I mean, I'm sorry to toot your horn over here, but
no, please toot away.
But
we love it.
But it's been incredible. Yeah, of course. Thanks. I did want to ask though, So you said you went to art school. Do you think that influenced any of your skate stuff now? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, of course. I think what was kind of funny is that like when I went to art school, I moved to Boston,
mm,
so that's like my first time living in the city.
okay.
And I feel like I was probably more interested in skating than I was actually learning about art. But
Okay.
there's a lot that I did absorb, and mostly what I absorbed was like the art history
Hmm.
aspect, and in that kind of learning about like theory
Yeah.
and process. And I think that's kind of like I'd seen a little bit of conceptual art,
Hmm.
in my teenage years, and I just thought like that's so funny. Like it's only art because of like what you're thinking about it, and like
Yeah.
that concept is really still fascinating to me. Where it's like kind of the punchline is the entire piece,
Yeah.
you know and once you get it, it kind of clicks.
Hmm.
And it's almost like the art is happening more so in your mind than just this thing that is just out there explaining itself to you, being
Exactly.
spoon fed to you.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, I guess, like, yeah, I like that kind of like that poetic kind of unexplained kind of art, where
No.
it's up to interpretation, and it's a little more tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
No,
but
I
at the
totally
end,
agree.
at the same time, I'm like discovering these videos that were coming out, coincidentally while I'm in college, that are like of Mark Gonzalez
Okay.
and Jason Dill, and then people like Colin Fisk, who now, he
It's part of the
he
team.
is
Yeah.
co-founder of Fancy Lad and a good
Yeah.
friend of mine now. And these were all my kind of favorite guys because they blur the line between like skating, being an artist, and the
Hmm.
skating as art,
Hmm.
and like intentionally making it more of an art form than just tricks. It's about like the
Hmm.
nuances and technique, the location, the fashion, and just embracing the fact that you are a performance artist and like you write your own script, and it could
Hmm.
really be anything.
Yeah.
And how to make it more personal and emotional and
Yeah.
expressive, instead of just kind of like macho stunts,
Yeah. And
so that had a big impact on me, and that was all during kind of my art school years, so I was able to kind of like put some of the things they're doing into context.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
can totally feel that. That's kind of why I asked that. I almost
Mm,
I feel like in a sense, like not so much like the actual physical skills of like art school, like the illustration, all the drawing, but more so I feel like those concepts, you kind of carry those everywhere.
mm.
And then I
Well,
can
and I oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, no worries. I just wanted to say, like, I could see how, like, Fancy Lad, it kind of, how I like how you said it kind of moves into more performance art instead of like an actual, not an actual sport, but just from performance art or I'm sorry, it moves to performance art instead of like a sports kind of aspect, which I kind of like. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is like you kind of have to learn the rules to break them,
Exactly.
or like
Yeah.
acquire the skills to unlearn them.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of what I've learned in my formative years of skating and throughout art school is what I don't like, and what I don't want to see, and what I
Yeah.
don't want to partake in, and
Yeah.
what I think is a waste of time, or a waste of energy, and you just kind of cut to the root of like, how do you tell a story? How do you make it engaging?
Hmm.
How is it something new?
Yeah.
And how is it personal to you and not replicating someone else's story?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
and less is more a lot of the time. Although I'm also the same. I'm also the person who wants to have like 10 boards at once. So sometimes more is more,
I know, I
but
understand
less
that.
less trick is more.
Yeah, kind of adds a
Yeah.
personal touch to it. I see. Yeah. But I did want to ask too. We never got to the Fancy Lad. So how did Fancy
Mm.
Lad come about?
Yeah, well, so like I said, we're all just friends,
Mm-hmm.
and when I moved to the city to Boston, I met one of the guys who I went to school with was a guy, Mike Lindquist, who he's in the videos, and he does like a part of all coffin tricks where he's lying on the board going downstairs, or lying on the board backwards going down a hill.
Yeah.
So I met him, and he kind of introduced me to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
First Eric, and then Big, and I moved actually to Portland, Oregon after college.
Oh, okay.
In true, aspiring artist fashion.
That's excellent. This is an excellent choice for that. Yeah.
It didn't work out for me, but while I was out there talking with Big on the phone, and he said, I'm starting a company, and so you should move home, and you're on the team or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just like, okay, like, don't have anything to offer as far as filming. Like, I didn't really film skating. And the skating that I did do mostly kind of just cruised around and looked for like unique spots.
Yeah.
But I was in no way trying to like do anything with it or put anything out or represent anything. So it was kind of like, okay, that's kind of funny. And then, I ended up moving back. And so naturally hanging out with them because they were like my main skate group.
Yeah.
And then like, we were filming. We started to film, and it ended up being a video. And then like the boards started being made, and it just it's kind of tough to recall all the details, but it just kind of gradually gained momentum and interest in other people, and more people started to gravitate towards it, wanting to buy the boards or skate with us and be involved. And we went on a tour down the East Coast. They went all the way to Florida. I only made it as far as Philly on that one, but I just started to do stuff that like we grew up seeing. That's what a company does. You go on a tour, you sell boards, you make videos, and I think we were kind of doing it, to live that dream.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think it's kind of perceived as an actual company.
That's beautiful.
And,
I mean, that's the goal, right?
We're putting out some of the more interesting content there. And I mean, I feel like we'd be remiss to not mention my buddy Matt Tomasello, who I think is probably one of the, if not the best skaters in the world right now.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You're familiar with his work?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So like we got him because just geographically, like we all lived near each other, and we went to high school together. We weren't actually like friends then, but and we kind of became friends through our mutual friend Kevin, and got really close. And then I kind of was like, eventually after saying so many times, you should probably do something with Fancy Lad, he finally was like, yeah, all right. And now he's leading the charge.
Yeah.
And he's kind of leading the whole world in like, next level skating.
His name has definitely popped up in my radar, which is even more fascinating. It's crazy. Yeah.
You can't avoid him. What's funny too is people like tag me on his stuff. Like, you'd like this.
You're like, oh yeah?
I'm like, really? Huh. Let's see.
That's hilarious.
I love that. But I don't know. It's hard to trace like how it really got going, but it was always just kind of like, it's kind of a joke, like, let's make a company where, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's part of Big's thesis, where it's like, it's a company that's about skating, and it's about like highlighting the best parts of skating that other companies aren't showcasing.
And I feel like that's brilliantly displayed. Like, you do that. Like, Fancy Lad does do that, which is awesome.
We try. It's all, there's a lot of work that goes into it, as lackadaisical as it appears.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of these tricks take hours too.
I'd imagine. I mean, they're so they get so complex sometimes, you know. I can't even.
So imagine being the filmer, because we all take turns.
And it's funny. I wish I could like highlight some of them to you, but they're just so complex. And I'm trying to figure out a way to how to even. They're so unique in a sense. Like my favorite has always been. It was in the Adult Swim edit, and it was. I believe. I'm trying to even think. It was like a bike lockup, and the board was put in there, and then it did a full rotation before someone got off, and then rode it out. I'm trying to.
Oh, the mini loop. That
Yes,
does.
the mini loop. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
Those
He'd been thinking about that for a long time, and actually built two. And I don't know if he was really fully satisfied with how it came out, but like it came out enough where you get the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that was a good one. I think that's, you know, that's the other fun thing about what we do is it's so referential to like the kind of skating we grew up with. Like, you know, that's like Tony Hawk doing the loop, or like Bob Burnquist doing the loop, where it's like that was a major event in our skate like history, where like there's the 900, there's the loop, there's the mega ramp, and all these like hilarious, grandiose, superhuman type feats. And then it's like, what's our version of that, or like what's our ode to that? You know,
this is the mini loop. That's incredible. No, it's it almost feels like a homage, but also like a joke too, which I love.
Well, I mean, I think it's funny you say that too, because like that's so our culture as a friend group, where we just constantly make fun of each other and berate each other, but that's how we show that we care.
Yeah, 100%.
And we kind of like when we meet new people, we treat them like that too, where we'll kind of make fun of them, and sometimes people get offended, but maybe it's just like a kind of an northern East Coast thing, where no affection by ragging on each other.
Yeah, because you can't do that over here on the West Coast.
No, I learned that.
Yeah.
Like, I remember people being like, "You're so intense," and I'm like, "Oh, these are just jokes. I'm just trying to have fun."
Yeah, it always takes me a second when I meet somebody like it's not even a bad thing. It's just like, oh, okay, I get how this room works. You know, I can read the room here. Yeah,
I try to feel it out a little more these days before I start doing it. But you know, like, and I think that, you know, all people are sensitive.
Yeah,
but I tend to think skaters are a little more thick-skinned, where you can kind of toss them a diss about their outfit and see how they react. Maybe just even as a conversation piece.
Yeah, no, I understand. It seems like the skating community is inclusive, but also there comes some, not even cons. There just comes, I guess, like the jokes come with the whole culture. I feel like it definitely intertwines with skate culture. It's the best way.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a lot of insecurity.
Yeah.
In skate culture, that's kind of what it comes down to.
I can understand that.
I think it's evolving though.
Yeah.
I mean, even just in the past couple of years, there's been such like, I don't know, a boom of inclusiveness. You know, and it's really nice to see. And I feel like it's kind of tearing down some of these kind of like toxic, masculine, like making fun of each other, pissing contest type things. You know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I always felt like skating was an inclusive, I guess, activity, you know?
I think more so than other sports, simply because you don't have to be a part of the team. So you can't get picked last or not picked at all. You know, like all you have to do is show up to the park. But inclusive, it's kind of like, it's like a gray area. Like, yeah, you're allowed to go to the park, but is anyone going to acknowledge you?
Yeah.
And I think now people get to, you know, a friendly acknowledgement and hello and what's your name, like goes a long way to making someone feel welcome. And the positive reinforcement is what helps people get better at skating.
Continue.
It helps them, and it helps them just live a happy life. Like, it's pretty simple, you know? So like, as one of the skate park elders, as I find myself these days, I kind of try to go out of my way to give helpful hints. Maybe I'm not really in the position to do that, but I try to give some helpful hints, or just even say like, "How are you? What's up?"
Okay. And that's awesome, because I feel like that can be passed on, and eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I was taught to be cold and silent. Like, that's what my elders taught me. So like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's soft to even like laugh and joke around and talk to people who you don't know.
And that's crazy to even think about, because that's definitely not the culture anymore. So
Yeah.
I guess I agree with you on that. Yeah.
It's been cool to watch it evolve in all the years that I've been
I can
doing
imagine.
it,
Yeah.
I mean, there's still, it's kind of like, as my buddy Todd, who owned the local shop in Boston, said, he's like, not all skaters are bad. Skaters are people. So some skaters are bad people. Or some skaters are good people,
Yeah. I think that's definitely the best way to put it.
I think, I was thinking, with everything going on, like, I see a lot of ignorant skaters or really like ignorant comments coming from skaters because they just don't know. And I think that's partly due to like skating being so mainstream now. Is that like skating is always like a microcosm of the bigger culture. And so as the skating sphere grows, it's more a part of the mainstream culture that doesn't know and is ignorant.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And I mean, I just feel like to be a real skater, like, to me, the archetype of the skater is like, like kind of like a hippie, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like someone who's open-minded or who's an artist and who wants to engage with the community and like, I don't know, wants to be a friend to all and already knows the cops suck and like all these basic things.
Yeah. No, that's probably the perfect archetype for it, I guess. At least what you want, to be as a skater or achieve.
And I think now it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a lot of jocks and like frat boy culture.
Yeah.
Who are very okay with the status quo.
Yeah.
And are threatened by anything that is against it.
Yeah.
Because that's not like their way of life, or they don't want to change.
And it's crazy to see the conflicting sides of it,
Or just, like skaters are so obsessed with their one activity that they might think they don't have the capacity to like learn.
Yeah.
About how to be better. And I don't know. I've been pretty happy to see that most of the skaters in my circles are like doing what they can to educate themselves and spread useful information. And like just kind of do what they can. So it's cool. But I've seen other shit where I'm just like, oh man.
The complete opposite, I could imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I don't want to take all of your time. I do want to ask one final question.
Yeah.
Is for my show, it's called I Want to Feel Better, in the sense
Love the name.
Thank you.
That's what at first, I got to say I'm a little weary these days when people reach out.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, what's the angle? And just the fact that it's called that, I was instantly intrigued.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because I love it. I think it's a great goal.
Yeah, no, because like I guess the sense of the show was built on me just trying to figure out how to be like a nice person, how to be a better person, I guess. And I originally I think I took the direction in the beginning as like some weird. I was like, I'm gonna do some kind of mental health kind of guru kind of, but that was just, I was way in over my head on that. And then coronavirus hit, and I was like, I think everyone just genuinely wants to feel better. So I was like, I just want to talk to different people from different aspects of life, and we just share our journeys, And
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so thank you. But But the last thing I wanted to ask, I always ask people is whether it's a creative endeavor or just an endeavor in life, do you have general advice that you'd like to share? Like something that you've specifically learned recently or
Mm.
something you want to just tell people?
Yeah, I think something I've been reflecting on a lot lately that's kind of been tripping me up is, well, I feel like the intention is everything and
Hmm.
making sure you're in it for the right reasons,
Okay.
and that's what kind of it bugs me about little kids at the park who are sad that they're not good,
Hmm.
where I'm like, if are you only doing this for the superficial achievements of like, the clout or the respect of others, or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, yeah, the applause of others.
I get that. No,
um
100%.
you know what I mean? Or like, just with everything, like, why are you really doing it, and is that coming from a place of like altruism or just fear?
Yeah.
And the fear is like, it's already like a dead end,
Yeah.
but it's like, obviously there's a lot to be fearful and doubtful of, and like, that's natural.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is like, yeah, to do to do it for yourself.
Yeah, no,
And
I totally
you know
get that. Yeah. Because it's
or
like
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no worries. I had like a band before this, and then
Hmm.
I feel like not we, I'm gonna just say me personally. I feel like I was in it for the wrong reasons, and
Hmm.
I wanted the respect, and then I wanted the money that never comes with that artistic venture, but at least in my
Hmm.
head it did. And now I kind of feel like I just needed to learn to do what I like doing, and I feel like I 100% agree with your, I mean, advice is just once you learn that you just want to do it just cuz, I feel like that's the best moment in any type of endeavor.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and I don't know, and it kind of like, it pays for itself
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
fulfillment,
Yeah. Like,
and it gives you energy to do the other stuff that maybe it isn't fun, that you have to do, like whatever, day job or whatever,
hmm,
but like, we're just used to, we live in the sort of the gig culture of optimizing everything or trying to monetize everything, and I'm guilty of it too, where I'm like, well, I invested my entire life into like my skating and my art, and how can I get a return from this
hmm,
time spent?
yeah.
And and sometimes there is a little bit of return in that way, but the biggest return is where you're like, I feel happy with how this came out. I feel like it was I grew,
Hmm.
maybe like some skills were learned or honed,
Yeah.
and then someone like really enjoys it, and they're inspired to do their thing,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like the flow of positive energy.
No, I love
Not
that.
that you
Yeah.
don't need money to survive, but it's tough to try to like force those to overlap.
Yeah. It's a fine balance, it seems. That's what I'm learning
Yeah,
now.
it's a toughie.
But no, it's good advice nonetheless. I love it.
I'm trying.
It was
I
great.
sometimes, like I said, I don't know if I'm qualified to give tips for skating or advice on life, but
Oh, it's perfect.
best I can.
I'm gonna take both of them. But I did want to ask: is there anything you wanted to plug? Anything you wanted to advertise, or anything like that?
Well, since we're on a podcast,
Oh, it's
may I refer listeners to the Fancy Lad podcast?
yes, you may.
I'm sure they would appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's Tom and Big over there of
Okay.
Fancy Lad.
All right.
Um, who do I got to plug else? Oh, as I mentioned, I just finished my illustrated skate poetry book. It's
Okay.
called The Skate Park of My Heart.
That's awesome. Is it gonna be digital or print or?
So far, it's just an ebook format, but
Okay.
I want to eventually print it when I like have some more secure funds to do so.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I'll
what
definitely make a
else?
purchase.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Of course.
Um, what else? Secrets of the Clown Box, Fancy Lad video coming soon. That's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of projects are kind of on hiatus right now.
I know, given the time, but I appreciate your time 100%. I cannot thank you enough for giving me an hour of your day.
Of course. I mean, I appreciate you hitting me up. This is kind of my highlight of the day and one of the only things I have scheduled for the entire week.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it.
It's tough. It's tough, but you know, I'm working on my stuff. But it's just nice it's always nice to hear from someone who's interested.
Yeah, of course.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And thank you. And hopefully I'll talk to you again. I'll definitely keep in touch if possible. But yeah, that's about it. That's the podcast.
Is this podcast on the gram? Can I find it there? Or
yeah, so it's my personal Instagram. So it's at Terrence Michael Greer. So if you want to keep updated on that. Yeah. But it has all the
sweet.
links. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll give you a follow and keep up to date.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right.
Have a great day.
Cool. You too. Talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you later.
Holy shit, this beat is hard. Anyways, thank you, Abe. Thank you, Fancy Lad. And thank you, everyone, for listening. This was a great episode. And I got nothing else to say. We'll see you next week.